It's August 10th, 2023, 4 months since the last new hero dropped, which, mind you, was probably the worst hero to ever be introduced into Overwatch 2. And you can't help but think whether the same will be the case for the new hero, Illari. You're curious as to what she does, whether she's as bad as Lifeweaver, or if she's completely broken. You might watch your favourite content creators talk about her, or scroll on Twitter to see the popular consensus, and fortunately for you, people are saying she's broken. You probably soy-faced when you saw how fast her healing beam was. However, at this point, you either don't have the hero unlocked yet, because you refuse to give Blizzard your money, or you just spend it on the battle pass anyways. Regardless, Illari players at this stage probably aren't used to aiming on supports, so they can't land their shots. On top of that, they randomly toss up their pylons, or forget to reposition them, they fly way too high with their captive sun, and miss every follow-up shot, and of course, their positioning is a bit garbage. But, as the season progresses, you're faced with an important choice to make. We're roughly a week into Season 6 of Overwatch 2, and as the season settles down, and as you racked up some time with Illari, either from release or when you've locked the hero later down, you make a realization. Similar to Kiriko mains, Illari actually requires mechanical skill. Her skill curve isn't that forgiving, and this is where you have to decide whether you want to sink in your time learning this hero, who, for some people at the time, isn't even out on comp yet, and is probably gonna get nerfed. However, considering that there are aspects to Illari's kit, like her pylon and her outburst, which are fairly intuitive, the only real difficult part is aiming. And unlike Kiriko, you can still get a lot done by landing consistent body shots with Illari. With that being said, if you're like me and you can't aim... Oh my god, holy smokes. Should I go quick play first, man? Because this is rough. Bro, I play Brig, what do you expect? Hit your shot, suck my dick, like, come on. You're probably gonna stick to less mechanically demanding heroes, like Brig, Moira, and even Ana to some extent, honestly. But, say if you're a DPS player, especially hitscan, moving over to the support role can seem really attractive, since aiming with Illari can be really easy. So, two things either happen. The future Illari main decides to stick on the hero, believing she's not too hard to play, or they give Illari a break, and later learn how powerful and flexible she can really be. For those that stuck with Illari, wanting to learn and play her, there's this period of confusion about how to actually play the hero. And this isn't really a surprise, considering she's very new to the game, but even then, her kit isn't really intuitive. You have this really powerful ranged weapon, but also a really powerful burst heal that has really limited range. Your mobility isn't as bad as Zen, but it isn't as good as Lucio or Kiriko. Your sustain isn't as bad as Zen, but it isn't as good as Moira or Brig. You're in this weird Goldilocks zone of being mid at literally everything but your damage outputs. This often leads to confusion about where and when to play Illari. As a result, if Illari becomes a bit too taxing to learn, it's not uncommon for people to give up at this stage. However, some don't. This is the point in your Illari journey where you realise how broken she really is. This is the point where everyone is calling Illari a DPS hero, and you start seeing Illaris get 4Ks and 5Ks with their captive sun.
Oh my god! What? That combo's disgusting!
Sometimes actually doing more damage on the leaderboard than their actual DPS players. It's kinda ridiculous. Every tier list you see rates Illari in the S or the A tier, and for good reason.
Right now, she is insane, and even despite the nerfs, contenders players are playing Illari in a lot of compositions with Orisa and Sigma right now, and some with D.Va as well. I think she's an S tier hero right now.
Even though she can seem confusing at first, and not really a specialist in anything much, that's actually a good thing, meaning she can slide into pretty much any mishmash of a team comp and still perform really well. It's at this point you realise that if you start to take things seriously, you can almost abuse how good this hero is, and how much carry potential she has. And if you initially give Illari a go, and decide that she's not for you, this is what likely convinces you to give her a go. That, and you probably unlock the llama pajama skin at level 20, which, even though you know it looks corny, you still wear it anyways. The universal stage in all of these videos is of course the improvement stage. The time where, more often than not, the most growth of the Illari main is seen. You've likely gone into YouTube, typed up Illari guide, and clicked on the one with the most views. Quick plug, but you should probably watch mine if you haven't already. But If you're still unsatisfied and looking for even more juicy Illari advice, you'll do a little more digging. Now, because the hero is still pretty new, you honestly won't find much, so you'll probably end up looking at Orchid's and Rank the GM, thinking you'll learn something, but in actuality you won't, because Orchid has insane mechanics that you'll never have. Or you'll try and watch pro play and pick out anything you might want to see. In particular, Surma Jed from the Toronto Defiance is probably the world's best Illari player at the moment, but this is still pretty scarce. Just like with any other hero, if you really want to put your improvement on the fast track, you'll seek out some form of coaching, either by a qualified coach, most commonly found through Metafy, or just simply going to the depths of Reddit and Discord, posting a code, and seeing what advice you get. After finally learning and integrating some of the information into your own gameplay, you'll start to notice some improvements. First off, you might actually hide your pylon well and learn that it sticks out quite a bit. Or you might learn to not fly directly out in the air when you pop your captive sun, or you might learn that trigger discipline is actually really important to landing shots and not just spamming out your primary fire because you can. You might also learn that stacking on your honor is not a good idea, and instead, forcing Jolt into DPS that you can actually fight, like Ashe, Sojourn, or even Soldier, can bring you a lot more value. Of course, this stage will last for your entire journey on Illari. However, kinda like newbie gains at the gym, this is where you'll see the most amount of return for your time on Illari. Despite the nerfs to Illari's Captive Sun and Pylon, she's quite a rewarding hero to play, even if you only just get the gist of her. She's simple, but not easy. There's nothing too complicated, from standing on an angle or flanking at the right time, using your Pylon to help support your flank. Because of how powerful Illari was, and frankly still is, just after seeing a little bit of improvement in their own gameplay, the Illari main will start seeing success with the hero, even though she's barely been out in comp. They might even become full-on stat Andes, flexing their damage and their limbs per 10, when in actuality, that's literally all your hero is. A stat goblin.
There is a difference between someone being strong conceptually and someone being strong because of numbers. I haven't heard many people complaining about Illari's utility, when she literally has none.
Regardless though, if you're better than most Illaris at your rank, which shouldn't be too hard to do, considering most Illaris don't know what they're doing with such a new hero, your win percentage should slowly start ticking upwards. Just like the Overwatch League after this season, all good things must come to an end. Even though the broad overview of Illari is quite simple, it's the smaller things that start to matter. Whether you hit that critical shot or not, whether you adjust your playstyle depending on the enemy composition, or whether your hero is just straight up garbage for the situation at hand. If you're playing Lucio Illari Ryan, you're almost always going to get gapped by Lucio Baptista Ryan, or even Ana in that case. How do you keep your Ryan up while also utilising your damage? How about playing Illari into snipers? What do you do on Soccer Royale when there's barely any good flanks to take, especially on first points? You're not Kiriko, you can't just go on some Rambo flank and teleport straight back to your team. As a result, you end up hitting a ceiling where it gets harder and harder to improve, and as a result, it becomes harder and harder to climb. You might go full desperation mode, doing these high risk, high reward plays, like dueling a sniper from a 20 to 30 meter range, which can be good at times, but more often than not, you just end up feeding. And even worse, tilt, frustration and anger can arise, which not only make you plateau, but even fall. With all that being said, it's not all doom and gloom. Now, unlike the other mains like Hitscan mains, Genji players, or just DPS players in general to be honest, there usually isn't a toxic stereotype surrounding support players. In fact, DPS players who decide to play flex supports are just seen to be playing the easier role. Maybe there's some truth to that and there's some laziness going on, but not pure degeneracy. More often than not, that frustration built up at the flatline stage leads to questioning. Questioning whether you're truly good at the hero or not. Questioning whether you're making the sunk cost fallacy, choosing to invest all this time into Illari and not seeing any results. This doubt that arises can result in a few outcomes. Either just not wanting to climb anymore, specifically with Illari, instead looking to generalize the skill set they have with Illari onto other heroes. Or rather, they actually look to go further beyond their current skill level and reach the upper echelons of the rank system. This stage is kind of a temporary transitional period between mediocrity and greatness. It's the unseen journey and the turmoil, both in and out of the game, before you start seeing it pay off. Maybe you take some visits back to stage 5 every now and then, but there really isn't much else to stay in this penultimate stage. It's all the ugly, boring stuff before you see that rank up. Adapting to different maps, to different comps, mastering the timing of your flanks, maximizing your pylon uptime, and making Illari work in situations where she really just shouldn't. Not gonna lie, this stage was just named after a Tizo touchdown song, but I've named this impossible for a reason. The best Illari players in the world make the impossible possible. When the odds are stacked against you, when your hero is just flat out suboptimal, you still find a way to play the cards you were dealt, showing off the sheer carry value this hero has.
He's dead. Surely.
No, he's out. They just see him.
No,
he's out. He's out.
Oh,
He can win this.
Wait, is
Oh,
that
you take these? Okay.
Oh.
He's ulting.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, he's got to hit something. He's just got to hide. Okay, there we go. Wait, he's dueling? Okay. Wait, he won the duel.
I mean, you don't need me to say it. The Illari main is practically god tier at this point. You're at least a ranked warlord on this hero, and if not, you're on a pretty decent team of some sorts. Even though the hero's been out for just over a month, Illari doesn't require some revolutionary way of playing the game, and if you need help with mastering that, feel free to check out my Illari guide if you haven't already. It's a very useful starting point, even if you're a higher rank. And if you guys enjoyed this 10 stages video, be sure to subscribe, comment and like, and let me know which one to do next. Shout out to my channel members, T-Meg, Slothdust, Xbenny, Ushi, Wix, Broken by 50%, Suffering, Chris Jones and Craig. And let me know your thoughts down below.